basement. Level vibes with another one. Straight up, blackness aye. Who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, I do it for the love, him not do it for no money. Straight up, him attack, educating everybody. Big up my friends and big up my family. Turn on the radio, catch the vibes, it's integrity. Straight up, Benskop stands for unity. One people, one nation, one destiny. Free up the truth in the air, even the blind can see. The deaf can hear, the dumb can talk, the cripple can walk. Boom. Who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, we have to gather wrong, grab a seat and sit down, pay attention. Education, liberation, we have to stand strong. Benskop upon the radio, lively up the program. Everybody call somebody and let them turn and tune and pon the radio and catch the boom song. We boom it up already, we have to boom it up again. Expose and reveal him. Who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, I do it for the love, him not do it for no money. Straight up, him attack, educating everybody. Big up my friends and big up my family. Turn on the radio, catch the vibes, it's integrity. Straight up, Benskop stands for unity. One people, one nation, one destiny. Free up the truth in the air, even the blind can see. The deaf can hear, the dumb can talk, the cripple can walk. Boom. Who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit.
Hello, this is attorney Shellen Washington, owner and founder of the Washington Law Firm, located at 455 Utica Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. We're specialized in medical malpractice, personal injuries, matrimonial law, and landlord and tenant. If you're in need of legal representation, please give us a call today. The number to call is 718-877-3100. Consultation is free at no cost to you. So call us today to see if we can be of any assistance to your legal needs. Again, the phone number to call us is 718-877-3100.
All right, hey, good evening. It's 7 minutes after 9 o'clock. My name is Mark Benchop, and we are going to rock and roll right here on 107.1 FM. 107.1 FM. Look, I tell you guys what, we know that the regime has been targeting us and we're not afraid of that. You know, at 107.1 FM, they target any entity, they starve that entity of ads and whatever. And so we're not bothered about that at all, right, Roxanne? Bess, right? October, right? And John and all the crew. Look, they got some of you guys have been with us because Straight Up has been. Look, get this guy off the screen. We will be talking about this acting commissioner of police who is basically there to do the biddings, the dirty biddings of the corrupt PPPC regime. Get him off for a moment. Look, let me say good evening to all of you. My name is Mark Benchap. It's Friday evening. All night it's going to be Friday. I think I'm going to go out and no, I'm not going to go out this. I was going to take a drive to the fish shop, but I realized that I'm not in Guyana, and nobody's afraid of being in Guyana. People got to stop this fear mongering, and they got to stop this little boy girlish games. It's just not. It's just not. It's just not going to develop into what some of you want it to be developed in. Not you, the regular viewers, those who are authentic, those who are patriotic. You know who you are. Somebody said to me this morning, and I was surprised. Call and says, I have been watching Straight Up. Of course, there was a 5 years plus break. I have been watching Straight Up for over 20 years. And I remember, I'm like, Straight Up has been a while, right? Straight Up is not just pop off the air, off the top of the, what is it, the Facebook screen. We are on radio as well. We've been around a while. We haven't been in here for what, around elections time. Of course, we make people come, people go, but that's the nature of the business. Straight Up on 107.1 FM. 107. Nobody's bigger than Straight Up. I'm not even bigger than Straight Up. So nobody can even say that they are bigger than Straight. Anyways, GT Root Girl has joined us. Wow. Carol Fortune. It's We're really happy to have all of you with us. We're about business. Thanks. Miss Bess has been watching us even before she was born, right? And guess what? Our operator said that we are going to be joined by, wait a minute, Shellon Washington is going to be here this evening. We ask our operator to make contact with Wayne Caesar, our public accountant. And you've got to listen to this brother. This brother has evolved, has developed into a public speaker. Maybe someday he will be running for office in Brooklyn. Oh, he might be running for some office in Brooklyn. This is a type of representative we need: responsible individuals in office, and I surely will. He will get my vote. GT Root Girl, I hope you give Wayne Caesar the vote if ever he decides on running. Waveney says to me, 15 years of Straight Up. Waveney Doris, 15 years of Straight Up. This is not just the other day stuff, Some of you weren't even around since then. Some of you just hop on the scene the other day and feel it. It's Friday. I need a. What do you guys think? I should probably take a Guinness or a Macassin or whatever. First of all, Wayne Caesar is with us. I should be saying the Honorable Wayne Caesar is going to be with us. The Honorable Attorney at Law Shellon Washington is going to be with us. And what happens now is we want to invite you guys for a phone call. Give us a call. Let us know how you feel about what is happening in Guyana. What is happening in Guyana? What exactly is happening in Guyana? Feel free to give us a call. And hey, let us focus on what we have to focus on. And in terms of targeting the corrupt political regime with proper information, not propaganda. This is not about little boy games and you come here to basically show off or the numbers, and we're not about that. We're about substance. And those of you who know straight up. We are about substance. What's happening? What's happening in your neck of the wood? Patrick Patterson, good evening to you. Patrick Patterson is saying here, this got to be, I'm not sure if it's a Patterson from quarantine. If it's a Patterson from quarantine, I hope when Wayne Caesar gets on here, Wayne knows that I have bloodline also. Look, where is our operator? Lemon, let's get Wayne Caesar, please. Yeah, he's the first to go with us. We got a Medgar Evers College. A Medgar Evers College. I wonder if we should tolerate that tonight. I'm a John Jay College kind of guy, and where are you going with Medgar Evers College on straight up?
Well, you
Good
know,
evening to you,
Mark.
sir.
Good evening, Mark. And no, let me
Good
change
evening,
that.
sir.
Let me come again, Mark. Good evening to the Honorable Mr. Mark Benchop. And listen, a pleasant good evening to our honorable freedom fighters. All right, good evening to all of you guys tonight. It's Friday night, and as Mark said, we're gonna rock and roll. You know, over to you, Mark. Do your thing.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Nothing is wrong with Medgar Evers College. Lots of good people are from there. And it just so happened I should have probably pulled my John Jay sweater on, but it's too late for that. Good evening to all of you guys, all of you beautiful people. Let's get ready to rock and roll. This is what's happening. We are talking about, let's begin first with this here. Let's get straight into business here because that's what we're all about, business, right here on 107.1 FM, the people's business. Look, so the balance, here is what the PPP's mouthpiece is saying. Balanced, impartial, and thorough examination of Mahdia tragedy promised. Balanced, impartial. I don't know what's going on and whether we're going to get that at all. Your take, Mr. Caesar. Take the first shot at that. Balance, impartial?
Balanced, impartial, and thorough examination of Mahdia tragedy promised by a government who have broken all the promises in the world thus far. And listen, Mark, if this COI is ever balanced, impartial, and thorough, the entire PPPC government would be fired with immediate effect. So this is all propaganda right here. These people are being paid, given a massive amount of money to do what? Only God in heavens know. We do not want an internal investigation here. We want an external investigation. We want the people to come from outside of Guyana. You could never get a balanced, impartial, and thorough examination of this tragedy with, you understand me, a COI where the members are from within Guyana. You could never get that, Mark. Come on, who the people think they're trying to trick? They cannot trick us. We're not dealing with that anymore. We're on to them now.
And the fact, Mr. Caesar, that it has been weeks now, and there's a court matter that is pending with a little girl who has been slapped with 20 murder charges. Sir, 20.
There, Mark your charge. Listen, that young lady, there's not even any conclusive evidence, Mark, to say that this young lady would have set that fire. There is not conclusive evidence. Hence, there should have never been, 20 charges, murder charges pinned on her. Okay, and after this COI, I want to see what they come up with. Because listen, I am in full doubt, Mark, that that young lady would have set that fire. And to the extent that she is found to not be the person who would have set that fire, Mark, she should sue the state, man. She should sue the state.
She should indeed, but it's so unfair that we have a system that is not working for the people, a system that is persecuting people, a system that is destroying lives, a system that is destroying individuals and lots of our young people. It's such a shame, though, Mr. Caesar, and those of you who are watching this program. I know a lot of you can relate to this. This whole, commission of inquiry is just a sham. And I agree with Roxanne. The system is corrupt. I agree with Carl Miller. Balance, impartial, and thorough is hogwash. People have absolutely no confidence at all, right, Chandel Griffith? No confidence at all in what's happening. I don't know, Mr. Caesar. Uh, what I don't know what sort of trust can people have in a system that is broken. Look, Roxanne Best knows it best, better than anyone. Her son was murdered. And to this day, absolutely, and I repeat, absolutely no justice at all. It is flushed down the toilet. They treat her and her family as though her matter and the death of her son is of no importance at all. Shame and a disgrace. No justice at all for the ordinary people. None whatsoever. Meanwhile, these lagu-bagus in the regime protect their friends and cronies, and the same lagu-bagus in the Guyana police force. We will touch on that shortly. But let us move on. We have other stuff to touch on. While we await, sorry, the arrival of Miss Washington. We are waiting the arrival of Miss Washington. Lemon just told me that Miss Washington is with us. I'm not sure if she's with us, but I think she is. There she goes. Miss Washington, good evening. How are you?
Good evening, Mark. I am well. Good evening, Wayne, and to all the listeners out there. Pleasant good evening to you all, and thank you all for joining us this Friday night. Discuss a very serious issue.
Thank you so much, Miss Washington. And I'm not sure how you feel by watching Wayne Caesar wearing a Medgar Evers College shirt. I don't know how you feel about that. But let me say good evening to the folks who might be wearing iFlat University shirts. Good evening to all of you out there. iFlat University. Miss Washington, it's always good to see you. Let me say good evening to all the folks. Rhonda Lane, good evening. Rhonda, my apologies. I saw your message. I got to get back. Rhonda Lane is having something in the Namstel, and we've got to give her some promotion. We've got to advertise her stuff. I got you, Rhonda Lane. Don't ever think that we at 107.1 FM don't have you guys back at all. We do have you guys, 100%. Miss Washington, I asked Mr. Caesar before you got on to comment about this. Here is what they're saying about this commission of inquiry. Weeks ago, we have been hearing about this, but they're claiming that it's going to be balanced, it's going to be impartial, and thorough examination of Mahdia tragedy promised through commission of inquiry. Your take, please, Miss Washington.
The first problem I have with this commission of inquiry, and I have questions. I have numerous questions. How is this investigation going to be conducted? As far as I'm aware, the fire was never properly investigated. That's number one. The root cause of the fire. I'm not sure if they did interview all of the students, all of the parties involved, and everyone who had knowledge or possible information related to the fire. But I believe without forensic investigation, there could be no thorough investigation. And in Guyanese term, when they say thorough, they just simply mean asking people questions and interviewing parties. They don't get deeply involved in forensic science. They don't get deeply into the root cause of something as to why it happened. They don't even have ask question as to motive. What could have been the possible motive for anybody to set fire on a dorms containing young children in it? Guyanese old perception of a thorough investigation is what we call a surface inquiry into an incident. They don't get into it. And the parties that I see that they're using on the commission there, it's just no way that it's possible. Where's the forensics? Where is the fire chief as fire specialist who's going to investigate the fire? Where is, as far as I'm seeing, I know the attorney there, and then I don't know, they have Joe Singh, and I don't know who the other party is that is.
The other guy is a national uh, Tusha, I believe, chairman, Derek John. I believe that's what it is.
But
But go ahead. Sorry.
even so, Mark, the type of investigation or inquiry that the people of Guyana would need in this case, taking into consideration the nature and how tragic this was, it gathered international attention. This is not the type of investigation. This is not the type of commission we're looking for. We're looking to see the government again bring somebody with the expertise who knows how to investigate this kind of situation. We're looking to see, something more detailed, something more intricate that would actually get to the bottom and tell the people of Guyana, well, this is conclusive. We have the final results. We conducted some scientific investigation, and this is what we found. That's not what's going to happen here. What do they think an attorney could do? What do they think Joe Singh could do? What do they think is going to happen here? It's going to be a superficial inquiry. They're going to ask questions, read reports, and that's going to be the end of that. We will never know. The parents are never going to know what truly happened to their loved ones. They'll never know. This is a mockery. This is a freak show. This is a laugh. I would laugh at this. This is the type of thing that Guyana does, and they put it there. This thing gathered international attention. Don't they know that this is the type of investigation you need to spend money on? You need to bring an expert in forensics as it relates to fire investigation. You need to get somebody who's deeply involved in investigating criminal activity to determine who actually started that fire. In terms of you determining the nature and the cause of the fire, two things: the nature and the cause of the fire, and then secondly, you have to get to the bottom of who and why the fire was started. Those are the things that needs to be investigated. What made them think that the people that they've put together are capable of getting deeply involved into forensic science, into science related to fire? They are not capable. They're not even capable. Mark, I don't understand this. I really don't. Impartial, balanced, and impartial. How could it be balanced? It's more going to be very, very partial because it's limited to the extent of those parties' knowledge as it relates to any type of investigation.
And the fact that Joe Singh, Major General retired Joe Singh, works with the regime. Attorney Kim Kite, I see she's now Dr. Kim Kite, Thomas, is also working with the regime. And the NTC, the National Tusha Council, I believe, chairman, seem to be in bed with the PPP as well. So how can this be impartial?
Mark is not even possible. She represented Claudette Singh, so
Yeah.
I know how you feel. We'll get back to Mr. Caesar shortly. I see Desiree Simons. Good evening to you. Ms. Simons is saying exactly. The inquiry will be as good as the star witnesses in the exercise, and we know little investigation has been done so far. People are not dumb. They're reading right between the lines. This leads me to what happened with the 2020 elections. Even though some folks were charged, and to this day, they cannot get their day in court. No justice for Keith Lowenfield, no justice for Roxanne Myers, no justice for Mr. Mingo. They, instead of having the the elections petitions heard, they hurriedly stymied the process. The PPP did that because they were afraid to open those SOPs and let people see who the real riggers were in the 2020 elections. And so I mentioned that because they had a commission of inquiry for that also, which is a farce. Now they have a commission of inquiry for the Mahdia fire, which is a farce. I don't know, Mr. Caesar, what else is going through your mind as you reflect back on the commission, the farce of a commission of inquiry into the 2020 elections?
Well, Mark, I just want to go back to the Mahdia tragedy quickly there after listening to Shalon and everything there. Listen, this investigation is going to lead nowhere. I am 100% agreeing with Shalon on this. You wanted to do a proper investigation. The area should have been cordoned off. you have so many people would have walked on that area, tamper with all the evidence and everything, mark the area, it should have been reconstructed. That would have gave you a perfect, that would have made it perfect. You would have been able to identify exactly what would have happened had you reconstruct that crime scene or the scene of that tragedy. Okay, they have allowed all this time to pass. And now you put these three individuals here in charge of a COI, three individuals who are aligned with the PPP. Because Mark, trust me, that two shall, and I've been hearing about the two shalls. You guys need to come clean, okay? Because the young women in the indigenous communities, are being raped amongst other things and abused. And you guys are out there mingling and knocking glass with the oppressors while your young ladies continue to be disrespected. So, Mark, the two shouts, while I do have respect for them, there are many of them I don't have respect for. Okay, because they're knocking glass with this oppressive government. Back over to you.
Thank you so much. I noticed that there's a comment there from Maureen Coppin Williams is asking, what's the terms of reference? Was it published? Not to my knowledge, Miss Coppin Williams. We are unaware of whether the TOR, whether that was published or not. We don't know at all. And this is just a farce. There's another person in the comment section is saying, why? And I agree again with this person. Why should the PPP, why should they have competent investigators? Why should they? Why do we expect them to have competent investigators?
Oh my
I don't
goodness.
know. Ms. Washington, lots of these comments I agree with. This is a night that I agree with almost everything that I'm seeing here on our comment section. But let's move over to City Hall. City Hall. The PPP counselor. I'm not even sure why this guy is given the time of the day. Look at his face alone and I know that it's a sad day at City Hall. But this is what they're saying, that City Hall is broke. Every time these guys take over a system, the first thing they jump on complain, it's broke. The system is broken. These guys, their vision is broken, but they have starved through central government. For over 3 years, they starved central government of any monies, and now they're getting in there through their counselor who has been grass hopping around the place on political parties. He's saying that City Hall is broke, no budget for 2023. Ms. Washington, all the complaints and the propaganda by these PPP vagabonds. They're saying that City Hall is broke, but this is the same set of people that refuse to give City Hall any monies.
I mean, it's a contradiction, because if your political party is in power and they're in control of parliament and they're the ones who are allowed to make decisions for the people of Guyana, they're the ones voting on what amount of money to be allocated on the budget to finance various sectors in the country. So they're the ones who ultimately sit in the seat to make that decision as to what funds is allocated to City Hall to accomplish some of the tasks that needs to be done. So they're in no position, absolutely no position to complain that there's no money, that City Hall doesn't have money, because they themselves are the fault of that. So who else are they going to be blaming for City Hall lack of funds except the PPP government? There's no other source to blame. All of the funds has to pass through. There's a process that, how the budget is passed and how the funds are allocated. And it has to be authorized right there in Parliament. So City Hall is in definitely no position to complain, because it's under the PPP for 20-something years. President Granger was barely there for 4 years, barely survived for 4 years, didn't have enough time to undo the damage that was already done under the PPP. So I cannot see it's a contradiction. They cannot complain of something that they're personally responsible for. So we wouldn't have it. The people of Guyana shouldn't have it. They shouldn't complain for their own mistakes, for their own faults, for their own doing, their own wrongdoing.
seems as if we lost Mark a bit there, Shalon. But Shalon,
Oh,
just to add to
sorry.
what you would have just said there. Mark, you want to come in? Go ahead.
No, go right ahead, sir. My mic was muted, but go ahead.
Yeah. Shalon, just to add a little bit to what you would have just said there. Basically, when I look at this guy and the caption below his picture there, it's just another elevator pitch that the PPP is making here to go back to Parliament to request additional monies because City Hall is now broke. And you know what's concerning about all of this? We never see what monies are allocated where. And this is very concerning. I would like to have that minister of the APNU, of actually the opposition, Mr. Jermaine Figueroa, who works with the PAC, the Public Accounts Committee. I would like him to make some of these reports available because I would definitely like to take a look at these reports. I would like to see some of these ledgers to see exactly where these monies are going, Shalom, because I don't know if you're noticing what I am noticing. But they're going to Parliament every minute for money, and we're not seeing no improvement in nothing. All we're seeing is private buildings going up. So I'm thinking, where the heck is this money going? Okay, where is this money going?
We know, Wayne, where the money is going. It's going into the corrupt PPP guys' pockets. And you are correct in terms of these guys coming and complaining that there's no money, that City Hall is broke. It's another way that they want to steal more monies because they have deprived City Hall of hundreds of millions of dollars. The private sector owes members of the private sector. They owe City Hall millions upon millions of dollars. They don't pay their rates and taxes, but they expect John Joan or Jane Joan in Tiger Bay, in Albaistong, in Alexander Village, in Agricola, and so forth, and Sophia, and those areas, those are the ordinary folks who have to pay up the little taxes. And they don't go after those the individuals who don't pay taxes. Hundreds of millions of dollars. The central government owes City Hall in taxes, but they deprive City Hall of that because they don't want the drains to be cleaned. They don't want the garbage to be taken out and all these things. But yet they come through their Lampi Pampi showpiece, whoever dancing or whatever his name is, Lampi Pampi, to come and talk crap. Miss Washington.
Exactly, Mark, because these are all traditionally Afro-Guyanese area, Region 4, Georgetown, predominantly Afro-Guyanese. All of the constituencies that are predominantly Afro-Guyanese are deprived of the proper financing to get things done. So this complaint that City Hall is broke, it's broke because of PPP. PPP has been taking the money and give it to their own people and to their businesses and to finance their own venture outside of the government. And then now he's coming to complain. Who else is responsible for City Hall being broke? For years, this has been a problem under the PPP, who refuses to properly finance City Hall to get the city of Georgetown cleaned up and looking the way it should look. You know, that was something that President Granger tried to cure. He tried to rectify that problem, but it was only a short 4 years and he was out. So how much could have been done in 4 years when the PPP is really in control and the people of Guyana allowed them to continuously rig the elections and remain on a perpetual basis? You see, now the situation is cutting on around the world. People are taking drastic measures, especially African countries. And Guyana has to come to a point where at some point drastic measures are going to have to be taken if people refuse to step out of power and wants to remain there on a perpetual basis. That's not you don't own the governance of Guyana. The people own it. And at some point, the people of Guyana is going to have to take drastic measures to drag people out from where they don't belong and let them understand that the will of the people must prevail at all times. The will of the people.
The will of the people, indeed. They need a mayor that could take drastic actions. And trust me, were I sitting in that seat, they didn't want me there. They said, no, Mark, we don't want you. Trust me, you need a mayor that is strong enough that could stand up to these vagabonds in the private sector commission, to stand up to central government that owes them hundreds of millions of dollars. The private sector would have had to suffer. Those who don't pay their rates and taxes, they would have had to suffer. And as mayor, I would have ensured that, but I'm no longer there. That's done with. But you need not only people taking strong actions, you need strong mayors and deputy mayors that can get this goddamn job done. Forgive my language there. Why do you suppose? Because we need to move on to some other stuff, but Mr. Caesar is the finance guy. He's the accountant here. Why do you suppose, again, you may have hinted at that, Shalon mentioned it too, that the PPP is actually holding back hundreds of millions of dollars that they owe to the city, so that they can use that money to clean up the city and make it as beautiful as it was under the coalition? Look, we got to give Jack his jacket. Shellen hinted at that. Georgetown has never been so beautiful in my time knowing Georgetown. It has never been as beautiful as it was under the coalition. And that's a fact. Mr. Caesar, touch on that before we move on.
Okay, so Mark, who is controlling the townships for the most part? The opposition. So what better way to embarrass them, to make them look bad, than to hold back funds that should be coming into City Hall to have proper garbage collection, garbage pickup, clearing of the drainage and all these type of things? Then it looks bad. And what people think, Mark, people think at the back, hey, look, these guys are not doing anything. We need to vote PPP the next time because we're not getting anything done here. That's the whole idea behind what the PPPC is doing here. And that being said, I want to congratulate Mr. Alfred Mentor, on being the new mayor of Georgetown. But, sir, you need to provide reports. You need to make reports available as to who owes and how much they owe. That should be transparent. We should be able to see that, Mark.
Listen, don't hold your breath. It's not going to happen. Don't hold your breath. It's not going to happen.
All right. All right, Mark. All right. I will not disagree with you, Mark, because you are a person who have been on the ground. You've been there, done that. So I'm not going to disagree with you. But I'm going to say this to the Guyanese people. You need to start setting higher standards. Stop having these people trample and walk all over you. Stop having them do that. This cannot be a body system. You're talking about people's lives here. You're talking about people's well-being here. Okay? It's not easy for certain Guyanese, Mark, the ones that are very poor, to hold on to a piece of land and a home in the Georgetown area because of the rising rates and taxes, amongst other things. And to know that you are paying, right? And you're not getting the services, proper water, the water brown, the trench water look clearer than the water coming through the pipe. Could you believe that, Shalon? In the 21st century? That should not be. And people still have to pay rates and taxes. Come on. And look, listen, Mark.
And look who are paying your rates and taxes, Mr. Caesar. Look, the ordinary people.
Yes.
The big, filthy, so-called rich business people, they don't pay taxes. They steal from the people. And you need a mayor that will stand up and tell these people enough is enough. It is time that the city gets its fair share of the tax dollars. Simple as that. And I hope Mr. Mentor has what it takes to do that. I'm not going to hold my breath, though. I'm not going
Mark, let's all sit here and hope that he have the testicular fortitude, to step up to the plate and to represent the people. The people need to be represented. Hey, Mark, listen, you can't just want to run in the kitchen and you don't want to take the heat, okay? You go in the kitchen, you know that it's going to be hot. So when you go in there, you have to be prepared, okay? This mayor needs to get on his game. Besides that, Mark, GPL would have owed millions upon millions. It probably gone to $1 billion. I don't know. GPL owed the city a whole lot of money. And, hey, you holding back taxes from the city, and your grid isn't working properly.
And I agree with Miss Washington. And good points, Caesar. But drastic action. Imagine a mayor saying to his staff, "We are going to shut the city down for a week. No collection of garbage, no nothing. because it is unfair for the ordinary, hardworking people to pay their fair share of taxes. And when they don't pay their taxes, the city hall officials have to go after those people and penalize them. But they have these culprits, these fat cats in the private sector commission and those in central government and those other unscrupulous businessmen and women who are connected to the PPP do not pay their fair share of taxes. Shut the city down for 1 week. Don't collect no garbage. Don't do nothing. Let's all feel a squeeze. And trust me, they're going to come to their senses and start respecting the citizen or the residents of Georgetown. Those are the sort of drastic actions need to be taken. Because every time we have a mayor from Mr. Hamilton Green's time, the same question is posed. They're not paying their taxes. Well, what happened? We took them to court and nothing. The next mayor comes. What happened to them? They're not paying their taxes. What happened? We took them to court. Another mayor come. They're not paying them taxes. What happened? Man, I be carry them a court. Then another mayor is here now. Same thing we're gonna hear. Same thing we're gonna hear.
You see, the thing is, Mark, those businessmen are heavily protected by the PPP government, because you see, when the city takes them to court, they're going to meet with a magistrate sitting in power. And that goes to the heart of what somebody commented here on your show the last time. I think it was last night. Somebody said, the whole system is controlled by the PPP. So you have the judicial system, which they have a lot of PPP judges sitting on the bench. Then you have a whole lot of magistrates who are also PPP. So you're fighting against a system that is heavily under the control of a government. So every angle you take, you are faced with obstacles. So the city tried to enforce, they tried to recover the taxes, but they're faced with the obstacle of getting past a PPP magistrate who might just issue an order saying that the private business owe the taxes, but there's really no consequence. There's really no way to properly enforce it. They're not going to be able to seize the business assets. In America here, when we enforce a judgment, the marshal could seize all of your assets and sell it to satisfy the judgment. Maybe if Guyana start taking drastic measures, if City Hall had the power to take such drastic measures as to sending the marshal or the police into the businesses and seize the assets, sell the assets to satisfy those taxes that is owed to the city.
A strong mayor would have done that. The marshals are not in Guyana for that, but the marshals are in Guyana for other people that they want out of Guyana, right? But I got you on that. Go ahead, finish your point, Ms. Washington.
I don't know if the laws in Guyana allows for them to do that, because if they're taking these businesses to court and nothing is coming out of it, then the laws has to be changed to allow for City Hall to take drastic measures to enforce. It's a government or a municipality. In America, a municipality has special powers, which a normal citizen wouldn't have, to enforce judgments against a private citizen for taxes or for parking ticket, for all of those things. And if we're allowed to do that, then the same rules have to be enforced equally against those big businesses. Gotcha. But those people are heavily protected by the PPP.
But a strong mayor would have stopped that. Trust me, would have stopped that. Enough is enough with those corrupt, in those private sector commission. They love to jump out and say, oh, we want a nice Guyana, we're patriotic. You're not patriotic. You're a bunch of hooligans. Pay your goddamn taxes. Pay your fair share of taxes. You're making hundreds of millions of dollars, and you corrupt individuals don't want to pay your taxes. But little Auntie Betty from Sophia got to pay the taxes. Uncle Forbes from where? Alberton got to pay his taxes. Uncle Colin Barnwell from Tiger Bay got to pay his taxes. Vidna, Harry Prasad got to pay her taxes. Good evening to all of you guys, all of you beautiful people watching this evening. Bernadette James, I'm sure she got to pay her taxes. I don't know. But hey, drastic action needs to be taken. It starts with the mayor. They got to be tough for these people. Let's move on. We have other things we want to talk about. And let's get to this thing here first. But before we do, let us remind people to go out and support these businesses. Just go out, please, and support these businesses. Once you're in Brooklyn, walk into Linda's restaurant and tell her you heard it right here on Straight Up 107.1 FM. I'm getting hungry now. And when you're done, just go and cut your hair. If you're looking for a barber chair or to rent a booth, beauticians and so forth, call that number. Clive Fraser's number out there in Brooklyn. Visit them, 5321. Also, right there, go get your hair cut done. Get everything done right there. Miss Washington, one afternoon you should walk over from your office and go and get your hair done there. It's not compliments of Straight Up, though. Please, we don't do that.
Isn't
The
that
only one
haircut
that got a
only?
free cut, the only
Isn't that
person that got a free cut was Wayne Caesar and Gavin Caesar, but nobody else. But
Oh yeah, they do
speaking
have a
of
beauty,
our
beauty
short
salon.
break of advertisement here, Miss Washington, we can't leave your business out. How are you doing there? We'll take this quick break to hear what are you doing and how is your business going along?
I'm doing well, Mark. And, as always, I like to thank all of the people who've been supporting me continuously. I'm really grateful for all of the referrals they keep sending. And as usual, I bring the same report. A lot of people send, their family, their friends, their neighbors, their cousins, and they just send the phone number and they tell them. A lot of people come and they say, I got this number from my father, or I got this number from a family in Guyana. They just sent me the number and told me any issue I have, I should call this office. So, I'm grateful that you have been supporting me. I've had even clients. We don't really do walk-in, but I've had quite a few walk-in. A guy just walked off. A couple of people did, but I want to mention this specific guy that he walked off. He told me he saw the show right here on the Mark Benchtop Radio 107.1, and he said he was trying to find the office, but he missed the place, although it's right almost opposite the KFC on Utica Avenue, so you really can't miss it. But he just walked in and he came in to get his matter resolved. So, I'm so grateful. I want to say thank you, guys. Thank you so much for all of the love and the support I've been getting. You guys are the best. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate all of you.
Thank you so much, Miss Washington. And I also thank all of you who walk into her law firm and say that you're related to Mark Benshop. All of you, every single one. When you would want to hear that, as soon as they walk, they say, I'm Mark's cousin. I'm Mark's cousin. It's okay. We're all related. Look, thank you so much, guys. But look, we're not done yet for this evening. Let us head over to the acting commissioner of police. His time is up. As Wayne Caesar would oftentimes say, your time is up. But he's not going anywhere. We heard Air Finale said that he's going to extend his time in office. He has already done so, but he's not going to tell anybody when. I've extended his time for a date to be announced later. Mr. Caesar, take a shot at this first. His time is up, but he's still there.
Well, first of all, Mark, that's a slap in the face to all the officers and high-ranking, members of the Guyana Police Force who would have been in line to move into the position of Commissioner of Police. That's a slap in their face there. And again, lack of transparency by the president, who has no respect for the people of Guyana, because had he had any type of respect, he would have given a proper timetable. Well, I would have extended Mr. Hickens' time to given him an additional 6 months or whatever. He would have been detailed. But, that's always the case with the PPPC, Mark. They like drama, and they like to use their lawlessness, to promote, their dramatical acts. But listen, Clifton Hicken, Mark, his time is up. And look, Air Finale can extend this time. Okay, because if we legally look by using our constitution, the PPP has just about 2 years or a little bit on the 2 years now. We're getting there, So listen, their time is going to be up also. All of them could just, hold hands and, like Shalon said, take away their merry self, go walking, all of you. And we're not finished with you guys, because we still, Mark, have to account for all the monies that are being withdrawn. That's why I am here. Over to you.
All right.
Mark.
Thank you so much, Wayne Caesar, the man that's talking the talk, walking the walk. Thank you, Deacon. I really do appreciate it. Getting bolder and bolder, which is good. And the Bible says that anytime you see an injustice that's meted out against your brother or your sister and you turn a blind eye, you're equally as guilty as the perpetrator or perpetrators. Never anybody should instill any fear in any one of you out there or anyone. I know they can't do
Mark,
that to Kuban
Mark, I say amen to that. I
thank
say
you so much.
amen to that.
You did also say that the PPP loves drama. PPP has a drama queen by the name, look, right there on the screen, a drama queen. So what else do you guys expect? A drama queen. Let's move on to some other stuff here concerning an incident. And this incident has to do with a situation in West Rumvelt over, as we read in the story, a property argument over property that unfortunately led to someone being shot and subsequently died. The police has investigated, but even before investigating the story, they, for some inexplicable reason, decided to mention something totally irrelevant to the story, that 10 plus years ago, Mark Benchop sold a vehicle to somebody, the now owner, and they just thought the need to mention. And this came out of Hickens' office. This man that Irfan Ali has decided to extend his time even though he has passed the age of retirement. What is your take, Attorney at Law Washington, on the fact that the police they have decided to mention my name in the story to say that I once owned that vehicle? I know you've issued a statement, a letter straight to the crime chief and the police commissioner, telling them exactly as it is. But let us hear your take publicly, ma'am.
The first thing, Mark, I would like to say regarding Hickens' time in office, I think if he's past the retirement age, unless there's no other suitably qualified persons, then I think the president would have had the right to, well, say that he can remain. But if there's anybody else suitable or qualified, then the acting or the installed president should take the correct action to install somebody or assign somebody to that position who is qualified and not past the age of retirement. I think one of the things the PPP always do is tend to have people remain who serve their purpose. If you don't serve the purpose of the PPP or their agenda, they wouldn't allow you to stay. But because Hickens probably served their purpose and their agenda, they're playing it safe by allowing him way past his age, way past the time to remain in that office when somebody much more qualified and younger should be sitting in that position. And that is wrong because this has been the conduct of the PPP the entire time. Secondly, Mark, as it relates to the actions of the Guyana police force, and this I would like to highlight for the people of Guyana to understand that when there is a crime, when there is something that is reported to the police first reaction is to investigate. I would like to make a quick reference to the Dharam Lal situation when the young lady went and made the report of rape to the police. The police dragged this foot. So I want to highlight the disparity of how cases are treated coming through Hickens' office. People need to understand this. As Guyanese, you need to recognize things because you know what? When your eyes are open and you begin to recognize how unfairly you are treated compared to your Indian counterpart who supports the PPP, then you're going to realize you cannot stay in that place any longer. You got to keep moving. You got to fix your problem so that your life could be easier. You can enjoy the land which your fourth parent fought for, shed blood for. So look at this. Dharam Lal, allegations were made. The charges weren't even laid. He was told to turn himself in. No statement was issued by the police. In this case, there was an alleged shooting, right? A person was shot. The police went to investigate. What was the first thing the police did? The police didn't properly look at the record and the title for the car. All the police probably was told, this is the old car Mark Benchop drove before he left Guyana or something of the sort. So what they did, they rushed quickly to make a statement without figuring out who was driving the car, who was the last owner of the car, and then why was this car used in the commission of a crime. What they look to do is to figure out, oh, we heard the name Mark Benchchop, and they know that Mark Benchchop is a political activist. Mark Benchchop has a show that talks about the wrongdoing of their bosses or the people that they're serving. So they rush to publish a statement and they use Mark Benchchop name. They didn't say to the public the timeline at which Mark owned the car. But mind you, people, that the fact that Mark owned that car in the past bears absolutely no relevance on the investigation of a shooting, a violent crime, mind you, because somebody was shot. A very, very violent crime. They rushed quickly to publish a statement and to say Mark owned the car. Mark was the owner of this car. Now, they didn't specify when, and they didn't tell the public why is Mark's ownership of the car relevant to your investigation. But their only intention was to paint Mark Benchchop in a false light to the public. They want the public to believe that somehow Mark had something to do with this shooting because he owned this car at some point, and then somebody else used the car to go commit the crime. But once you see Mark's name on the publication, the public don't know when it could have been a day before the shooting. It could have been 2 weeks based on the allegations made in the police report. They attempted to paint Mark in a false light. So I personally wrote to the Guyana police, the crime chief, explaining to him why that publication should be removed, because it's defamation. Guyana police essentially defamed Mark by putting his name in a report that has no business being there. There's no basis for publishing it with Mark's name there. It's over 10 years old. Why is this relevant to an investigation in a violent crime? Why is Mark's ownership? It's likened to saying, let's say you own a phone. Let's say you own a phone and then you sold the phone to somebody, and then the phone was used to extort somebody or commit some sort of crime. And then you owned the phone almost 10 years ago and you got rid of the phone and somebody used the phone to extort. Imagine the police, the ignorant police, going and get their hands on the phone and somebody said, oh, this phone was owned by this person. And without properly investigating, they made it seem to the public that you had something to do with that criminal activity of extortion. This is exactly what the police did. They attempted to make it seem as if Mark had a hand or had something to do with that crime, which shouldn't have been done. The purpose or the function of the police is to investigate and to protect the rights of a citizen, not to trample on a citizen's right or to infringe the rights of a citizen. And that's essentially what they did in this case. They attempted to infringe Mark's common law right by trying to publish false information. They didn't tell the public when Mark owned that car. So a person reading that statement wouldn't know. They could have assumed, oh, Mark probably owned this car like 2 weeks before this crime was committed. And that's the type of false light the PPP attempted, basically on purpose, because those are the tactics they use to oppress you. If you're speaking out against them, if you're speaking your truth, if you're enlightening or educating the public, that's what they always do. They attempt to silence you in whatever way they could possibly find. Could you imagine how somebody with a sick mind thought that they had somehow won the jackpot by finding a car that was used in a commission of a crime that was previously owned by Mark Benchchop? Imagine what went through the sick mind of the Guyana police force to use that and publish it. And they didn't do it just once. They did it twice, because they published the initial statement. Then they ran to publish a second statement, which included the current owner, who, by the way, was in the United States at the time, way before the crime was committed. He was in the United States, but the idiots didn't try to investigate. And this highlights the facts that we were trying to bring to light to the public since the Dharamlal matter. The police do not investigate anything. All they do is jump to frivolous conclusion without proper evidence or proper facts.
This is their unlawful conduct. So we have a bunch of unlawful thugs leading our country. We have a bunch of unlawful thugs in the police force who are trying to enforce the law and infringing on the law at the same time. So they're committing criminal activities themselves without any impunity, without any checks and balances. And they're the ones who are there to protect the people of Guyana. So imagine the people who are there to protect you are themselves lawless because they jump to conclusion without properly investigating. So when the person who they attempted to blame, they issue a wanted bulletin for that young man, he went and he made a public statement to let the public know it wasn't him. He's not even in Guyana. So how is it he could have committed the crime when he himself is not even in Guyana, and the police chief, the police commissioner has access to immigration record? So them themselves know they could have easily checked and saw that this young man left Guyana and saw exactly when he left Guyana. And there it is. They rushed to issue a wanted bulletin without properly investigating. You know, they right away they defamed this young man. That's defamation because it looks like if he was involved in a criminal activity when he wasn't. And you know, those of us who know the law, you know that if somebody is driving a car, the only time a car is used to determine culpability in any act is traffic offenses. If a traffic offense is committed, usually the car, because if the car is parked in the wrong place, the owner of the car is responsible for the parking ticket. But if there's a criminal act in which an individual use a gun and fire, it couldn't be the owner that is responsible. It has to be the person who actually fired the gun or any accomplice who was also in the presence or accompanied that person who committed or actually committed the crime. And the police, you would think they know these facts and that they understand how criminal activity work and how to properly investigate a crime. But in this instance, none of those things were done. They rushed to issue a wanted bulletin without investigating, without doing their homework. Simple investigation, they would have found out all the names of the parties who were at the residence of the victim of this crime. But they did none of that. They rushed to a conclusion. And conversely, in the Dharamlal situation, nothing, just as you see here, no investigation was done. They didn't care about laying any charges against Dharamlal. Just like in this case, they care about rushing against Afro-Guyanese, our own people. Our own Afro-Guyanese are leading the police force, yet they're oppressing their own people, yet they're violating the very laws that they're supposed to be upholding. What kind of lawless country do we have? What message is the police force, is the Guyana police force sending to the world?
All right.
Mark, you're muted again.
It's one of those nights. Forgive me. They're not, and thank you so much, Miss Washington. They're not concerned about the message. They don't care. They don't care what damage they've done to this young man. They don't care what damage they've done to his family. They just don't give a darn. Look, forget about me. They've been after me for a while. You know, I'm old school for them. And so people read right through them when they saw the report that mentioned my name about a vehicle that was gotten rid of over almost 12, 13, maybe close to 14 years or so, whatever. I don't know the exact. You know, what's the relevance other than, as you have said in your letter to the acting commissioner of police and the crime chief? Mind you, the crime chief is supposed to be a lawyer. If you are going to issue a wanted bulletin for someone, anyone, you've got to do a thorough check. Let's check the airport. Where is this person? No, they don't do that. But you know what they do? They go after the small man. We heard not so long ago, and I want to bring this up, that this guy, Azruddin Mohammed, allegedly was involved in a murder of Paper Sharks. Allegedly. But we're not going to hear that the police force issued a wanted bulletin for Azruddin Mohammed. We're not going to hear that the police force, they have arrested in order to question Azruddin Mohammed. They're not going to do that because monkey knows what limb to jump on. Azruddin Mohammed probably greasing their palms and their pockets and probably building houses and so forth for some of them. Who knows? Who knows? Probably. Who knows? But they're not going to go after the likes of this guy who is set to be on the radar of law enforcement agencies in the US. They're not going to go after him, right? At least Reuters is saying it, that they're on the probe. They're not going to go after these vagabonds, but they're going to go after this little boy who has claimed that he's out of the country, who has presented the evidence and so forth. But yet the Guyana police force, before we get to Mr. Caesar, yet the Guyana police force said, Miss Washington, that they're not going to retract anything. They just need to question him who was driving his vehicle. How dumb could they be, Miss Washington?
But you see, Mark, is like I say, they do not do their work. They don't investigate anything. I don't understand how the public could be more intelligent than the people who are supposed to be enforcing the law and upholding it. I don't understand how you could have the public more learned and more skilled as regards the law, because I did see after their publication a lot of comments by the public telling them that, hey, you need to do your job, you need to do this, you need to do that, because it's just shocking the conscience that they would issue a wanted bulletin for a young man just because he's the owner of the car without even going to the scene and asking simple questions. Just by doing that, you would have heard the names of the parties who visited the home of the young man. His reputed wife was there. So why is it they're still asking the owner of the car when we know, and every person who understands the law know, that the owner of the car is not necessarily a party of interest in a criminal activity, in a crime where a gun was actually used. You need the man who pulled the trigger on the gun. So you got to ask people who actually saw, who actually witnessed the commission of the crime. You got to talk to the reputed wife of the victim. You got to speak with the neighbors. People saw these people when they went to the home of the victim to discuss whatever issue, whatever problem the parties had. So it's kind of mind-boggling, and it's very disturbing that the Guyana police force would refuse to retract something which essentially defames somebody. And I think if the commissioner would ever come to this country, he would be slapped with defamation suit. He better not step foot in the United States, because then he would be submitted to the jurisdiction here. And this is a warning to him to stay where he is and never come here. You know, in Guyana, he could be sued too. He could be sued too. But it's just the judicial system is so corrupt there that sometimes you wonder if you're going to get the results that you know you're entitled to, if you're going to get the judgment. I know for sure if we go to the right judge, we have some upright judges like Gino Saad, we have what's his name, Sandel. We have a couple of them, but we don't know. I don't know all of the ones that are upright judges that would actually, and there's no guarantee that if I file a defamation case in Guyana, that it's going to go before some of the judges who actually rule based on the law and not rule based on some whimsical fantasies or their political agenda, but they actually look to the law to give the correct answer to the problem, you know. So in this case, they ought to retract what they said. They were wrong, but because of the pride, because of the corruption, because they've been so used to violating people's right, violating the law, and have never been checked or brought into condemnation for their conduct. So this is why they're going to sit there. We call it wrong and strong. They're going to continue to want to be wrong and strong because this is just what they've been doing for many, many decades. So now, how do they correct this type of conduct? They don't even know how to. They don't even know how to apologize to a private citizen for wrongfully committing an act that is wrong against that citizen. They don't know how to apologize. So now, even if I tell them to retract and to withdraw their statement, you see this, they publish a second one. It shows that they have blatant regard for the law. It shows they don't even care about complying with the laws in the same country that they are entrusted with the position of enforcing the law. But how could you be enforcing the law against me and you yourself lawless? You yourself engaging in lawless conduct. So if you can't obey the law, how can you tell me to obey it as a private citizen? You need to be removed from office. The commissioner needs to be removed. The crime chief needs to be removed. They need to revamp that entire office because all of these people are sitting there lawless. lawless conduct, and then you're going to tell a private citizen that you need to obey the law. You can't. You have no authority to tell me to obey something that you yourself don't obey. Look at you. You're defaming people's character by putting false information online, trying to attempt to make it seem like if there's some nexus between the commission of the crime and the ownership of the vehicle, and you're refusing to retract. Lawless conduct. You need to step out of office. The people of Guyana need to put pressure on you to step down and step aside, because you're incompetent. You have no right to sit in that office. You're not honorable. You're very dishonorable and very lawless. Unlawful. You're unlawfully sitting in the office as crime chief and as acting commissioner. Unlawful conduct. They need to step aside until the right people who can comply with the law properly enforce the law and properly obey the law. The first step to being able to enforce the law, you yourself has to be able to obey it. So you cannot sit in a position where you are enforcing the law, but you yourself not obeying the law. You yourself not complying with the law, but you're telling the people to comply. Lawlessness shouldn't happen.
Lawlessness indeed. A bunch of corrupt individuals. They have people who kill people out there. They know who those people are. They have people who are accused of killing people. They also know who those people are. But because of their connections to Irfan Ali and some other goons in the PPPC, they cannot be touched. They cannot be touched. Do you think the police would dare issue a wanted bulletin for Azruddin, the likes of Azruddin Mohammed or his father, Nazar Mohammed? Do you think that could ever happen? Y'all watch what they're doing. But let us get back to this here. This young man of whom a wanted bulletin was put out for him has been out of the jurisdiction. We're seeing here that he was admitted into the U.S. NYC JFK Airport, June 27th or somewhere there, 2013. He is still, according to an interview conducted by Gordon Mosley, he is still in the U.S. He was not in Guyana when the crime was committed. And let me take this time out to say condolences to the loved ones of the individual Dexter. I know Dexter. I've seen him a couple of times. And the other individual, a speedy recovery. But the police need to get to the bottom of what really transpired. People must learn to resolve situation in a better manner. Whatever happened, I don't know. You guys don't know. The police need to do a thorough investigation and dig a little deeper, and probably may find some complicity with some cops. Who knows? Who knows? We'll get to that some other time. But Mr. Caesar, a wanted bulletin issued for this young man. He's out of the country. The police is refusing to withdraw the wanted bulletin. Your take, sir.
Well, Mark, like Shalom would have said, and listen, I am forced to think that, many members, including the acting commissioner of police, Clifton Hicken, they are very, very ignorant to the laws of Guyana. It's either that they're really ignorant to the laws of Guyana or they are just lawless. Okay? Now, I'm going to take this whole thing all the way back to the Guyana Revenue Authority, Mark, because you got to listen. The police didn't just come out with this statement just like this, Mark. The information had to have, disseminated from somewhere. Okay? So somebody at the Guyana Revenue Authority would have pulled the manifest on that vehicle, right? And that manifest of that vehicle, Mark, is going to list all the owners. So once that person see Mark Benchop, that's number one. It was like, oh, bullseye. We got something here. Probably without going through the rest of the manifest to see who is the most current owner. Hence the reasoning behind probably the first report coming out. Okay? And Shalon is right. The police do not take their time when investigating. They do these little sham jobs and come up with their own little opinions and think that that is going to work. Listen, both for you and this young man, Mark, is defamation of character. Okay? And the Guyana police force should be held liable for this type of reckless behavior. And I know that our lawyer, Shelana Washington, would agree with me on that. They should be the ones who are liable, because you just cannot come out and put a report out just like that without properly investigating. And this investigation, it doesn't look like if it was properly carried out, at least to this point. You had to have had witnesses and everything that could tell you exactly who was driving the vehicle, who was in the vehicle, and who would have fired a shot, because a crowd would have gathered, after the incident started to evolve. A crowd would have gathered. So you have witnesses there, Mark. Were those witnesses questioned in depth? I don't think so. We're talking about the Guyana police force, Mark. A police force that an additional $2 billion was allocated to go and fight crime. Okay? This same police force that we're talking about here. And Shelon would have asked another question. Is there a senior officer in line who can take the reins as commissioner of police? Absolutely, Shelon. There is Dr. Paul Williams out there, who I just happen to know. There is Dr. Paul Williams out there who is in line for that position. But he will not do the bidding of the PPP. So hence, they're going to extend the time of Hicken. These things are not right. And listen, Shalon, we could plead, we can talk about these things, but listen, the standards are not going to change unless the Guyanese people step out there and demand that the standards change. We need to start putting additional legislation on the table in Parliament and start to resolve these things. We need proper legislation in place. There is too many gray areas in Guyana, especially when it comes to the Guyana police force. And the Guyana police force belongs literally to the people of Guyana. It does not belong to the government of Guyana. It is the people that the police is there to serve and protect. But it's just not happening. Over to you, Mark.
Mark, you're muted again. And Mark, just one thing you see, Shondell Griffith is saying, the people in Rumvelt was there. Everyone around there knew who did. They knew the whole situation. So it's like common knowledge what happened. If they had even had conversations with eyewitnesses, they would have easily been able to determine who was the perpetrator of this very violent crime. But that wasn't important. They just saw the name Mark Benchchop and they just knew that, hey, we have a name that we would like to defame because he's always speaking out against the corrupt practices of our office. So let's go against Mark Benchchop.
I'm wondering if they saw the vehicle, let's say, as Radid Mohammed's name, his father's name, or Jerry Govaya's name, or whether that would have been an issue. It would not. And the fact that they went to GRA and they saw exactly what they saw, hence the second report after you sent off that letter to them, they came back to say, well, okay, well, the vehicle is owned by this person that they've just issued a wanted bulletin, but Benchchop, it was owned by Benchchop over 10 years ago. Still no relevance. I wonder
Which makes no sense.
I wonder when Hicken is going to be in the US.
I wish he would come because, we could easily find his information once we know he's coming. That information is public information. And if he only steps foot here, he'll get served. So he better not come.
They get, some of them have gotten their visas taken back. I'm not sure if Hicken is one of them. Then they have the guy who heads the crime division, Caesar. Caesar comes up here. I'm not sure when was the last time he came up, but we will be watching out to see who will be visiting here. But let's go, before we head back to Mr. Caesar and we contemplate on wrapping up. This is the interview that, and this is compliments of news source, Gordon Mosley, conducted on the guy that the police claim is wanted.
A 43-year-old construction worker from West Rheinveld was shot dead yesterday afternoon as he observed a confrontation between his neighbor and another man over a property. A second bystander was also shot and is hospitalized with serious injuries. The dead man has been identified as Dexter Horsham. A police report indicated that just before 5 o'clock on Thursday afternoon, a 25-year-old West Rheinveld man who was at home with his reputed wife said he heard a knocking on his door. The young man, Ezekiel Subban, told investigators that when he looked outside, he saw a man who told him that he had bought the family property that he was living in from his great-uncle, and he needed him to move out immediately. The youth said he was unaware of any sale of the family property and told the man that since he could not provide any evidence of the sale or transfer of ownership, he should go to the police. In return, the man who was demanding the youth moves from the house was joined by 6 other men who he brought to the scene in a pickup, and they all got into an argument with a 25-year-old. By this time, persons in the area started to gather outside the house, and when a fight broke out over the property, one of the men who arrived on the scene with the man demanding the property was seen arming himself with a gun and opening fire indiscriminately. 2 bystanders were shot and rushed to the hospital, where doctors pronounced one of them dead. Back at the scene, the men who came to evict the youth left the area hurriedly after the shooting. The police said the pickup vehicle that was used by the men was later found in the South Rheinveld area and is owned by a man carrying the name Majesty Finance. Investigations are ongoing into the incident. Meanwhile, today, moments after the Guyana police force issued a wanted bulletin for that South Rheinveld man in connection with the shooting death of the bystander in West Rheinveld, the man contacted news source to reveal that he has been in the U.S. since the end of June and had absolutely nothing to do with the incident in West Rheinveld. This afternoon, the police force issued a wanted bulletin for 33-year-old Majesty Finance, explaining that he is wanted for questioning about the murder of Dexter Horsham, the bystander. In a WhatsApp video interview with news source from New York, Finance said he has been in the U.S. since the 27th of June and therefore could not have committed a crime that took place on the 10th of August. He provided his passport information showing that he departed Guyana on a JetBlue flight on the 27th of June and arrived in the U.S. on the same date. He also provided a copy of his boarding pass and his travel itinerary. The confused and concerned man said if the police force had conducted a search of its own immigration records before issuing a bulletin, it would have proven that he could not have committed the crime for which he is now wanted for. Yeah, good afternoon, sir. A wanted bulletin was issued for you today by the Guyana police force, but you're saying you're in the U.S. and you've been there since June.
Correct.
So tell us your response to that bulletin.
For me, I find that bulletin irresponsible. I find it reckless because proper investigation was not done. And to align me and produce this wanted bulletin when I'm here, let me just flip the camera. So it's clear that I'm in a whole different jurisdiction for almost 2 months. And I find it very ridiculous.
And this incident, are you in any way related to that incident that took place in West Rheinveld? They're saying the vehicle that was used is registered in your name.
The registration, GRA has all the information. Indeed, the number that they produced there, yes, it has been registered to me. But was I a part of any incident? Absolutely not.
Do you know who might have been? Anyone related to you? Anyone?
I can't speak on that because I wasn't there. And my main concern is this wanted bulletin that is out. And I'm not too sure what is the basis of it, because had they wanted to make contact with me, they would have done their due diligence and stopped with this fishing expedition that they're on to try to align me to a crime that I've never been a part of.
Yeah. Okay. I just want you, for our camera's sake, because we're also going to show this to the police group, if you can just open the door and go outside to put you.
No problem. So as you can see, I'm not within the Guyanese jurisdiction. Also, I'll forward you the stamps on my passport. I'll also forward you the travel information. So, in the spirit of transparency, you can see that there's no way I can be aligned with this reality that they're trying to align me with.
Okay.
News source repeatedly questioned the police force's public relations department about the bulletin. A senior official in the police force said the bulletin will stand, since the man is, according to them, just wanted for questioning in relation to the crime. The official said a vehicle that is registered in the man's name was used during the commission of the confrontation that led to the shooting death. According to the official, the investigators want to know who was driving the vehicle at the time. And since they could not make contact with the registered owner, they opted to issue the wanted bulletin for him to alert him that investigators wanted to speak to him. Finance maintains that the police force's actions were reckless and there were no efforts to make any contact with him before that wanted bulletin was issued. He wants it fully withdrawn and is demanding an apology.
Miss Washington, you heard it all right there. Compliments of news source. Thank you, Gordon Mosley. Miss Washington.
Mark, I just find this entire thing laughable because even this young man, not being an officer of the law, he was able to properly defend himself even before anything. The police should be ashamed, if anything, that this young man accurately defined what should have happened. And you would believe the police should know that. Like I said before, the only time a motor vehicle is used for a conviction is in a motor vehicular incident, like a manslaughter or a speeding ticket or a parking violation. Those are instances where the owner of the vehicle gets the ticket or gets the violation. But in the case of a specific, very specific crime, murder or wounding, unlawfully wounding a person where a gun was used, it's just no way. The police should know that what you need to find is who was driving the vehicle. And, you know, as I said earlier, even the viewers here stated that everyone around the area knew what happened. They could identify the people. They could have told the police if the police had gone and have conversations with the residents, and maybe even if they had spoken to the people in the property that the incident occurred to, they would have gotten sufficient information. And I saw in the news article all of the names of the parties were listed there. The entire story was there. So I'm not understanding. Are they embarrassed? And if they are, they should be. That's probably the reason why they're refusing to withdraw the wanted bulletin. Because what is the purpose? We need to ask the guy in the police force, what is the purpose of a wanted bulletin? When is a wanted bulletin issued? In this instance, was it required? Was it necessary to issue a wanted bulletin for the owner of a vehicle that had nothing to do with the commission of an offense, who was in a separate jurisdiction? And in this instance, we know very well in law, you cannot make the owner of a vehicle responsible for any criminal enterprise unless you can prove that the owner of the vehicle was at the scene of the offense when the offense was committed. Either they participated or they were an accessory before or an accessory after the crime. In this instance, they didn't do their due diligence. They didn't do their homework. So they weren't able to tell who was driving the vehicle. So instead of figuring out who was at the scene of the crime, why was the crime committed, and who was the person who actually used the gun, get a description of the person who used the gun. And then it's easy to figure out because they know the name of the driver of the car. Just figure out from the witness, the eyewitnesses, was this guy at the scene of this crime? And everyone would have pointed it in the picture and said, no, we didn't see this guy. And that would have been the end of it. But instead, they recklessly issued a wanted bulletin when the wanted bulletin should not have been issued. As far as I'm aware, a wanted bulletin is usually issued where you have sufficient information that somebody was involved in the commission of a crime. In this case, there's no such
evidence that the police force has. As a matter of fact, the police force had no evidence. They failed to do any investigation. They failed to properly speak and interact with the eyewitnesses, gather information to help them solve this problem. And people of Guyana, this is what they always do. Fail to protect the rights of the average Guyanese citizen. And the Guyana police force, shame on you. Your own people you're oppressing, and the opposite side, where you have Indo-Guyanese engaging in real criminal enterprise, you're giving them a tap on the shoulder and letting them go. You don't oppress them because you're working for the PPP. So you care about oppressing your own people for 2 pieces of shilling and a piece of silver. That's what you're oppressing Afro-Guyanese for. Shame and wickedness. You don't deserve to hold the position you're holding. And one day you're going to answer to God for the things that you're doing. All of you, as the acting commissioner, the crime chief, all of you, one day you're going to be answering for all of the crimes, the wickedness that you're covering up, and the wicked conduct you're engaging in by holding that office and oppressing your own people. This is not the way that we should be. We should bind together as Afro-Guyanese and do the right thing as it comes to our own brothers and sisters, not to oppress them. You're oppressing that young man. You're defaming him. You're painting him in a false light as if he was engaged in a criminal activity, when in fact you failed to do your investigation, failed to find and get to the truth in the bottom of this matter. But in the case of Dharam Lal, what you did, you gave him a tap on the shoulder. You refused to make a statement. You refused to lay a charge. But in this case, you rushed to issue a wanted bulletin. Shame on you. Shame on all of you. And I hope one day that you're forcibly removed from those offices that you're holding in a wrongful manner, doing things that are illegal. You're all illegal and you need to be removed. You need to step down.
Absolutely need to be removed. The people will do so. Next elections, hopefully it will be held soon, and that's how the people will forcibly vote to remove them from office. These corrupt vagabonds from office. Mr. Wayne Caesar, the deacon of the night, and we have the pastor of the night. How many of you guys know that Attorney Sheldon Washington is also a pastor, and our public accountant is also deacon? Both of them are doing a darn good job right here on 107.1 FM. Mr. Caesar, anything else before you go straight to your closing remarks, sir? Your turn.
Well, yeah, Mark, one thing I would like to say, it seems as if the Guyana police force is hell-bent, on issuing a wanted bulletin for this young man. But while all of this is going on, we have 6 assailants at large out there. What is the Guyana police force doing about capturing these men? And listen, let's be honest here. Over the last 3 years, we have seen a real uptick in shooting deaths across Guyana. Is everybody carrying a gun? We have a gun pandemic in Guyana. We only have, 750,000 people at best? What's going on? We're not going to have people just now. With all the vehicular accidents and all these, look at this. Look at this. It's like everybody needs to have a gun. Guyanese, you need to step up and demand higher standards. You're not going to be able to send your children to school. Children are going to start going to school and not coming home. You guys need to get serious. This is not the United States. We don't have the facilities. We don't have the police department to fight this kind of gun violence, this type of crime. We just don't have it. It doesn't matter how much $2 billion is allocated to Guyana police force. That's going in people's pockets. That ain't going in to fight no crime. That's going in directly into people's pockets. We need to start getting serious and we need to demand better. This is not the fabric of Guyana. This is not what our country is all about. We are not going to have people bring their nasty values from wherever they're coming from and imparting it and inputting it into our societies. We are a Guyanese people. We are a peaceful people. Okay, it's just too many people are dying. We do not have the trauma units in Guyana to deal with these violent, gun crimes. Look, we had the educator shot on the line top in Pleasance. We had another man killed at Aslington. This thing has got to stop. It's every week. It's every single week. Not a week does not pass us. We got to have some proper laws in place. It appears as if guns, whether legal or illegal, guns are being distributed like identification cards in Guyana. And we need to stop this. This needs to stop. Shalon, your take on the uptick in the gun violence across Guyana.
I just wanted to say something, Mark, and Wayne. You know, the same way we forced Darren Lal out of office by taking to the street, I think it's the same way we're gonna have to force some of the other people who are holding public offices out by taking to the streets. You see, if it wasn't for the hard work of those Guyanese who went into the street and protest daily to get a pedophile out of office, the pedophile would have still been in office. So I think in the same manner, if we see people serving in a position that they're not qualified to serve in, or they're engaging in conduct that is not correct or not appropriate, the people of Ghana need to speak up and they need to take actions to get that person out of office. And the acting commissioner, he needs to go. The crime chief, he needs to go, because this is wrongful conduct. Okay? And just quickly, because Mark, I see the time is going, and Mark has already said we need the closing. So, I think part of what is causing gun violence in Ghana is the PPP is allowing these thugs to import guns into Ghana. Ghana doesn't produce any gun. We don't manufacture, we don't assemble guns in Ghana. The guns are coming from somewhere else, and they're being illegally transported or imported into Guyana. So again, that goes back to who we have in power. And I don't think there's a way for us to stop it unless we have a proper government who protect the citizens and prevent this type of unlawful conduct from happening. All right. So that's my take.
Thank you, Shalon.
Thank you so much, Ms. Washington, and to all our beautiful people out there. The police force seem to be covering up a lot of stuff. They're covering up people who are raping people, PPP officials doing these sort of things, pedophiles, all manner of things, people who committing murders. They're covering up for those people, money launderers, gold smugglers. It is the reason why, and lots of incest in Guyana. Some of these PPP officials are probably committing incestuous or having incestuous relationships with their own daughters and all these different things. Who knows that they're covering these things up? But there is a God. There is indeed a God. I don't know what else to say other than we've just got to pray for a better Guyana. And sometimes we've just got to do more than praying. And sometimes we got to do more than just stop talking. And sometimes we need to stop telegraphing our shots. Deacon, your closing remarks, please, sir, as we leave our people for this evening until maybe Sunday or Monday, who knows? Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, Mark, basically in speaking to the people, look, it's going to be a short closing remark, straight to the point. Our leaders, our people, we have to understand this. We know the situation that we're in, and we know exactly where we want to be and where we want Guyana to be. And listen, you cannot sit back and just allow your brothers and sisters to have to do everything, facing the music, facing this regime on a daily basis. You could see Mark, you could see Shalom, myself. That's what we do. And we need help. We need all on sundry on board. Not because you may be in a home and your children appears, I'm going to use the word appears to be safe, because no one is safe in Guyana. Not anymore. Not with the uptick in violence, not with this lawless and illegal government. So we all need to play a part. We all need to look out for each other. If there's a protest call, and Shalon is so correct. Shalon is so correct. I believe in protest. I believe you will get whatever it is that you want. Once you protest, it is impactful, it is consistent, okay? And you have the turnout. We need to protest. We need to get out there. I'm saying this to the opposition. You have to get on the ground. We are within 2 years now of regional and general elections, and we do not see a new list. Guys, we cannot go to elections with the same list. Let's get out there. Let's start rallying the people. You know, come on, Guyana is ours. Let's go and get it. It's there for the taking. We have a government that is not capable of governing our country. We need to take it back, and we need to treat our country with dignity and respect, and also its people. Thank you very much, Mark, for having me. Shalon, it is always a pleasure sharing the platform with you. To all of our listeners, viewers, freedom fighters, I love all you guys, and God bless our great country, Guyana.
Thank you so much, Deacon Caesar, and thank you so much, Attorney at Law, Pastor Shalon Washington. It's Friday night, man. Let's just, and I think either Shalon or Wayne actually reminded us of this here. This is something, a message to the PPP, a serious message to the PPP, and especially Clifton Hicken. You've got to go, Clifton. You've got to go.
We are a peaceful people, struggling, we struggle, and we don't look for trouble, just ask around. But when outside faces, from foreign places, talk about taking over, we ain't backing down. No, we ain't giving up no mountain, and we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river.
And that's the message we leave you guys with this evening. What's the song? How's the song go, Miss Washington? We in what?
What did you say?
What the song? What's the song? The lyrics again? We in what?
Oh, we ain't giving up no mountain. We ain't giving up no sea.
Is that what it is, Wayne?
That belongs to we. Not one sucky, not one rice grain, not a blade of grass.
Not one karas, Mark. Not a blade of grass.
Tell Ali. Tell your fun, Ali. Anyways, tell your fun, Ali. Ali.
We ain't giving up the villages, Mark. The villages that belongs to us. All those villages that our ancestors purchased. We ain't giving it up.
And we here at Straight Up, we love you guys. Thank you so much for making us part of your activities at night, especially there to sit and watch us as we try to bring the best information over to you, the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Thank you all so much. God bless you. And God bless you too, Miss Washington and Mr. Caesar. So long.
Thank you, Mark. Good night, guys.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
All right. My name is Mark Benshop. I don't have much to say other than thank all of you beautiful people who want to ensure that Straight Up continues to be as strong as it is. Again, as I started in the beginning, someone said, hey, over 20 years Straight Up has been around. Straight Up didn't come around just the other day. Straight Up has always been strong. It gets stronger and stronger as a result of you, beautiful people. God bless you all. We'll be back Monday, same place, same time. Have a wonderful rest of the evening. And in the end, we will be triumphant. We will be triumphant. We will and we shall overcome. You saw how the people in Montgomery there, Alabama, sometimes some things are better left unsaid. God bless you all. So long.
So, this is attorney Shalon Washington, owner and founder of the Washington law firm located at 455 Utica Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. We're specialized in medical malpractice, personal injuries, matrimonial law, and landlord and tenant. If you're in need of legal representation, please give us a call today. The number to call is 718-877-3100. Consultation is free at no cost to you. So call us today to see if we can be of any assistance to your legal needs. Again, the phone number to call us is 718-877-3100. So, this is attorney Shellen Washington, owner and founder of the Washington law firm located at 455 Utica Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. We're specialized in medical malpractice, personal injuries, matrimonial law, and landlord and tenant. If you're in need of legal representation, please give us a call today. The number to call is 718-877-3100. Consultation is free at no cost to you. So call us today to see if we can be of any assistance to your legal needs. Again, the phone number to call us is 718-877-3100.
We are a peaceful people, struggling we struggle, and we don't look for trouble, just ask around. But when outside faces from foreign places talk about taking over, we ain't backing down. No, we ain't giving up no mountain, and we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belong to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one for us, not a blade of grass. This land is our land now, we're gonna make it somehow. We will bend like a bow, but never break. Our fathers came here, and they lived and died here, and we are moving from here, make no mistake. No, we ain't giving up no mountain, and we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belong to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one for us, not a blade of grass.